Long ago, in the ancient land of Daura, there was a terrible problem. The only source of water, the Kusugu well, was guarded by a giant snake named Sarki. This was no ordinary snake. It was huge, with eyes like glowing embers and scales as dark as midnight. The snake allowed the villagers to fetch water only once a week, on Fridays, and anyone who dared to fetch water on any other day would never return. The people lived in fear, and the crops withered in the scorching sun. One day, a traveler arrived in Daura. His name was Bayajida, a prince from a faraway land. His story was one of sadness and struggle. After the death of his father, his stepbrothers drove him from his homeland, and he had been wandering for many days, thirsty and hungry. With nothing left but hope in his heart, he arrived at the village of Daura, hoping to find peace. Bayajida knocked on the door of an old woman named Ayana. She welcomed him with a tired smile and gave him a small bowl of water. Bayajida drank the water quickly, but it was not enough. His throat was still dry and his body ached from exhaustion. "Please, grandmother," Bayajida said gently, "I need more water." Ayana shook her head sadly. "There is no more water, my son. The well is guarded by the snake Sariki, and we can only fetch water on Fridays. If anyone goes there before then, the snake will swallow them whole." Bayajida's heart sank, but then a spark of determination lit his eyes. "Show me the well," he said. "I will fight this snake and free your people." Ayana gasped. "No, my child. Many strong men have tried, and none returned. What makes you think you can win?" "I must try," Bayajida replied. "If I do not, more people will suffer." With great reluctance, Ayana led Bayajida to the well, her heart heavy with fear. As they approached the dark pit, Bayajida could feel the presence of the beast lurking within. He tightened his grip on his old knife, the only weapon he had left from his journey, and prepared himself for battle. Just as Bayajida was about to descend into the well, he heard a strange voice from deep within the water. "Turn back, traveler," the voice hissed. "Live now, and you shall live." Bayajida clenched his jaw and ignored the snake's warning. "I have come too far to be afraid." Suddenly, the snake lunged from the well, its massive coils twisting through the air like a storm. Its fangs gleamed, dripping with venom. Bayajida barely managed to dodge the first strike. The fight had begun. For hours, Bayajida and Sariki fought, each move more dangerous than the last. The snake wrapped around Bayajida, trying to crush him, but he wriggled free. With every strike, Bayajida became more exhausted, but he did not give up. He knew that the lives of the villagers depend on him. Finally, when it seemed like all hope was lost, Bayajida remembered the advice of a blacksmith he had met in the village of Gaya. "Strike not at the body," the blacksmith had told him, "but at the head, for only there can the beast be slain." Summoning every ounce of strength left in him, Bayajida plunged his knife deep into the snake's head. The serpent crashed wildly, hissing in agony, but Bayajida held firm. With one final blow, he severed the snake's head from its body. The beast was dead. Panting and soaked in sweat, Bayajida climbed out of the well, holding the snake's severed head in his hands. He returned to Ayana's house, where the old woman gasped in disbelief. "You did it," she whispered. "You killed Sarki." The next morning, the villagers gathered around the well, amazed to see the snake's lifeless body. The queen of Daura, Queen Daurama, arrived, dressed in splendid robes. She offered a reward to anyone who could prove they had slain the snake. Many men stepped forward, each holding the head of a snake, but none matched the serpent's body. Ayana then stepped forward and said, "The traveler staying in my house is the one who killed Sarki." Queen Daurama summoned Bayajida, who presented the real head of the snake. The queen was so grateful that she had offered Bayajida half of the kingdom. But Bayajida shook his head. "I did not fight the snake for wealth," he said humbly. "I only wish for peace and perhaps your hand in marriage, if you will have me." Queen Daurama smiled, touched by his courage and kindness. She accepted his proposal, and the two were married in a grand ceremony. The people of Daura celebrated their freedom, and water flowed freely from the Kusugu well once again. From that day, Bayajida became known as the hero of Daura, the man who saved a kingdom from the grip of fear. Though he had lost his throne in his homeland, he had found something even more precious: a new family and a home where he was truly needed. But Bayajida's journey was far from over. There were whispers of other troubles in distant lands, and deep in his heart, he knew that his destiny was not yet complete. New challenges lay ahead, and Bayajida was ready to face them, no matter the cost. One cool morning, just as Bayajida and Queen Daurama began to settle into their new life, a new strange messenger arrived at the palace gates. He wore dusty clothes from distant lands and carried a small scroll tied with a black rope. When he handed it to Bayajida, the man whispered ominously, "The 7 gates have been opened." Bayajida's heart skipped. He had heard legends of the 7 gates, magical barriers said to hold back ancient forces of darkness. If they were open, something terrible was on its way. That night, he couldn't sleep. The breeze outside whispered warnings, and the distant howls of wild animals filled the night air. When he finally dozed off, his dreams were troubled. He saw a shadow rising over distant lands, and at its feet lay villages burned to ashes. When he woke with a start, the Rama was sitting beside him. "Something is coming," Bayajida whispered. The queen placed a hand on his arm. "We must be strong. Whatever it is, we will face it together." But just as she spoke, loud drums echoed from the village gates. A soldier rushed into the room, bowing low. "Your Majesty, my lord," he cried. "A group of strange men from the east has entered the city. They claim to carry a message for Bayajida, and they say it is a matter of life or death." Bayajida and the Rama exchanged worried glances. They hurried to the palace courtyard, where 7 travelers, each dressed in robes of different colors, awaited them. They looked tired and worn, as if they had been traveling for weeks without rest. One of the travelers, a tall man with silver hair, stepped forward. "I am Farouk," he said, bowing low. "We bring you grave news, Prince Bayajida. The evil you thought was buried, Sarki's king, has awakened." Bayajida's hands tightened into fists. Sarki had no kin. He growled, "I killed him myself." Farooq shook his head sadly. "The snake you killed was but one of 7 brothers, each guarding a land tied to ancient magic. With his death, the others have awakened, and they seek revenge." The other travelers began to speak one by one, naming the lands under threat. Each brother snake had taken a different region: Gobir, Kanu, Zaria, Rano, Katsina, Biram, and Daura herself. The serpents were powerful and filled with rage, determined to plunge the lands into darkness. Queen Daurama stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Then we must warn the people. If these serpents come, we will not cower. We will fight." But Farooq shook his head grimly. "These serpents cannot be fought with swords alone. Each beast holds a magic far older than men, and if not stopped soon, they will bring eternal drought, hunger, and death to the lands." Bayajida thought for a moment, his mind racing. Then he turned to Farooq. "How can I stop them? If swords cannot kill them, what will?" Farooq hesitated before speaking. "To defeat them, you must find the black dagger, a weapon hidden deep beneath the earth, where only the bravest souls dare venture. It is said that the one who wields the black dagger will have the power to destroy these serpents. But the dagger's resting place is guarded by something even worse than the snakes." Bayajida's mind was made up. "I will find the dagger," he said without hesitation. "Tell me where it lies." Farooq's voice dropped to a whisper. "It is hidden in the cave of whispers, far beyond borders of this land. The cave can only be entered under the full moon, and it is said that once inside, a person's deepest fears come to life." Daurama stepped forward, her face full of worry. "You can't go alone," she said. "Let me come with you." But Bayajida shook his head gently. "No, Daurama. If these beasts come while I'm gone, the people will need you here. I will not leave this kingdom defenseless." Daurama knew there was no changing his mind, so she reluctantly gave him her blessing. "Come back to me," she whispered as they embraced. At dawn, Bayajida set out with Farooq and the 6 other travelers, their path leading them across rocky plains, dark forests, and treacherous rivers. Along the way, they encountered strange creatures, some friendly, others hostile. At night, the firelight flickered uneasily, as if it was warning them of dangers ahead. One evening, as they rested beneath a great baobab tree, Farooq told Bayajida more about the course of the serpents. "Each of the 7 snakes controls a part of the world's balance," he explained. "Water, wind, fire, earth, light, shadow, and time. If even one snake is not stopped, disaster will spread across all the lands." Bayajida nodded silently, feeling the weight of the task ahead. The fate of countless people rested on his shoulders, but he knew he could not give up. Not now, not ever. After many days of traveling, they finally reached the entrance of the Cave of Whispers. The air around the cave was thick with mist, and strange voices echoed from within, calling out their names in eerie whispers. Bayajida stepped forward, gripping the hilt of his knife. "Stay close," he warned the others. "This cave plays tricks on the mind." As they entered the cave, The walls seemed to close in around them, and the whispers grew louder. Fears, long buried, began to surface, visions of failure, loss, and betrayal. But Bayajida kept moving, determined to find the black dagger before it was too late. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached a vast chamber deep within the earth. In the center of the room stood a stone pedestal, and resting on it was the black dagger. It was smaller than Bayajida expected, its blade black as night and glimmering with a strange dark light. But just as Bayajida reached for the dagger, a terrible roar filled the chamber. From the shadows emerged a monstrous figure, a creature made of mist and shadow, with glowing red eyes and claws like daggers. "It is the guardian of the dagger," Farouk whispered. "This is the final test." Bayajida knew there was no turning back. He raised his knife and stepped forward, ready to face the greatest challenge of his life. The beast lunged at him, and the battle began.